Hello, I'm Eric, co-founder of SmartX.
And I'm Jean, co-founder of SmartX. And our last AMA was over a year ago, so we decided to do another one and give more insight to our community about what's coming. So the biggest challenges were basically to avoid any obvious attacks. We will deploy on the Ethereum network. The Ethereum network has somewhat of a flaw. It's not a flaw, of course, but for that kind of protocols, it's one. It's that the blocks are 12 seconds on average, right? And if you want to deploy a complex product on a blockchain that has 12-second blocks, you have to be very smart in order to avoid any kind of attacks, because basically what people can do is interact with your protocol, put transaction in the mempool, for example, and withdraw them if some kind of X event happens. Without giving too much details, basically a lot of protocols are exploitable in that way. And there are many kind of different flaws. We've seen some exploited like DYDX and other protocols that had a few different flaws. And we had to be very, very, I can remember a few weeks we spent just on that point, right? So how do we avoid people to be able to exploit the protocol by just playing around with the mempool, private miners, private mempools and stuff like that, right? So I would say this is the first challenge. Then there were different challenges around the technicals themselves. I would say that USDN will be paired with a perpetual system, fully decentralized on-chain on Ethereum. Nobody really did that. For now, like all the so-called decentralized perpetuals are most of the time have a very centralizing force somewhere, like centralized order books, centralized interfaces, things like that, and then interact in some decentralized way with the blockchain. And our goal was to eliminate all these centralizing points of failure, and that was also very hard, I would say. I don't know if you have to add something, if you want to add something.
What about the minting and redeem technique?
Yeah. Maybe we can touch on that in another question, so we have a more accurate way of describing it. But it's true that when you mint and redeem tokens, for many different reasons also, you have to be very accurate on how you handle it, because of first the fact that you have to remain delta neutral and different external factors that can be playing in the equation, if you want. So that's a very hard thing to handle. But we will give more details on a question, because later I think there is a question about more accurate things about how USDN works. So stay tuned for that.
So we cannot assure this.
Yeah, we cannot be certain that all attack vectors are covered. Of course, it's a utopia in any given informational system to imagine that you can cover all possible things, right? Our protocol is relying on a very, very heavy mathematical and technical solutions. Maybe you saw Charles' tweet about the USDN audit. Maybe we can show it in the video, about how huge the code base is and how important and heavy the protocol is. And that's why basically it's almost impossible to cover everything. Of course, a huge part of the development was to imagine all possible scenarios. It's real that it's true that with Eric, we have a huge experience in financial systems, so we see pretty easily all the different possible flaws, like we saw, for example, with Ethena and their USDE. We have a lot of different flaws covered that they didn't. So we dressed a list, and I'm talking almost a year ago, about all the possible attack vectors that we identified, whether they are financial or technical. That had some effect on all the rest of the development, right? We had to take very careful steps and make sure that everything was thought about. And to be honest, when Ethena USD was published, we were very surprised to see that most of these things we thought about and fixed were not actually addressed by their protocol, right? So I would say we can never tell with 100% certainty, but of course, we did everything we can to simulate, test everything, and envision every kind of different flaws we could see and cover these, right? Anything you want to add?
No.
Okay.
So USDN is not a stable coin, it's a synthetic dollar. It's like a structured product where the underlying value, or where the value of the structured product is equal to $1, almost 100% of the time. In some case, it could go a little bit lower, higher, whatever. If the price goes higher than $1, we will rebase the token, and you will get some extra token in your wallet. And if the price goes lower than $1, then it goes lower, but only a little bit, because I will give you a situation where it could go lower. Okay, normally we have a delta neutral strategy, but in some case, let's say we have more long into the perpetual, we have less short, so the people who mined the synthetic dollar, the USDN, and then let's say, okay, the price goes up. So everyone who is betting on long will win money, and the counterparty is the other side. So if we are not delta neutral, okay, let's say for 1%, okay, let's say we have 1% more long than short, let's say like this, and the price goes up like 10%, okay, then we will lose, the USDN will depeg 0.1%. This is the next, this is one scenario, but I take this example with 1%, okay, but normally it will be less, because the delta neutral strategy is, according to smart contract, we will be always close to 100% delta neutral. So it means we won't be like 100% and 101. It will be 100% and 100%. It will be delta neutral. So I don't think this will happen a lot, and even if it's happen, okay, you have a depeg of 0.1%, and let's say you have some funding rates or whatever, after some days, maybe like I don't know, like 0.1%, it's maybe after 3 to 5 days, you will repeg again. So maybe it will depeg a little bit according to the market, but it will repeg again, because if we are lower than $1, the profit that we make will make the coin repeg to the $1, and if it goes higher than $1, then we will rebase the token. And holders will make money. So on extreme scenario, let's say we have a lot of liquidation or some stuff like this, we we handle it as well. So we cannot give you more details about how it works now. Maybe you will know like in 1 or 2 months. It's too early to say. But we have a system to handle even if the Ethereum crash for 40, 50%, we are okay, and we will keep the delta neutral strategy. So yeah, I'm very confident with the stability of the USDN.
Yeah, and maybe I can add that we really considered all historical scenarios that happened and tried to include them in our simulations and see how the protocol would handle these. Of course, there are always things that can happen that never happened before, but even we took like extreme scenario, like hypotheticals that never happened, and the protocol will include some security mechanisms that will maintain the delta neutral strategy. So you will always have a way to rebalance the protocol and make sure that if the price depegs a bit, it goes back to $1. After a while, it mechanically go back to $1. And as Eric said, more often than not, it will go higher than $1 instead of below. And when it does, this rebate mechanism will distribute all the profits that the protocols generate to the holders. So let's say, for example, there is a 10% APR on the intrinsic value of the USDN. It means that if you have 1,000 USDN in your wallet, at the end of the year, you have 1,100 USDN in your wallet, right? And that absolutely automatically. And that's a very, very strong value proposition of the protocol that doesn't exist in anything else, right? So I would just add that.
When you want to mine the token, let's say you have to deposit 1 Ethereum. The price is $4,000. So you would just put your Ethereum into a smart contract, and you will get back 4,000 USDN at the valuation of $1. Okay, it depends. If the price is a little bit higher than $1, then you will get a little bit less USDN into your wallet. And so the protocol gets 1 Ethereum, you get about 4,000 USDN. And in reality, you are opening a short contract on Ethereum because now you hold USDN, but you have 1 Ethereum less. And so now the protocol, to save the delta neutral strategy, we will wait for someone who comes and to open a long with the same amount. It works a little bit like this. Let's say you have like 100 million on long, 100 million on short, and then you come, you mine 4,000 USDN, and then you have still 100 million in long, but you have 100 million and 4,000 in short. So it will work exactly like this, and you can mine and redeem USDN whenever you want, and that's it.
Yeah, and to incentivize the two, let's say, sides, you will have always one side paying the other side with what we call traditionally funding rates. In this case, is something comparable, right? And in that sense, you always make sure that you have a balanced protocol which incentivizes people to be exposed in one direction or the other, and that's how it regulates itself.
So yes, the USDN will be multi-chain, even in Solana, it will be everywhere, actually, everywhere where we can use it.
While we speak about that, there was a question about if we had plans for an expansion into Solana and other non-EVM compatible ecosystems. The answer is yes. We have a lot of different projects, actually. USDN is only one of them. And if you knew, yeah, I won't tell you too many things, but just keep in mind that we are working on a lot of stuff. People underestimate how big and how powerful our team is. We hired the best, and we are now approaching the 30 number. We were like maybe a handful a year ago, a little more than a year ago. And that's not just to maintain a web page of a DEX, you know. For now, you go on smartdex.io, it's just a DEX. But just imagine the human power behind us and how what it can deliver, of course. So yes, we have planned to expand, and all of these will be communicated in due time. So USDN is a system that works with two sides. We spoke about the short and the long side. The short side isn't really usable because in some sense, as Eric said in the previous answer, when you mint new USDN tokens, you are de facto short Ether, right? Because you sacrifice one ETH to get USDN. So it means you are aiming at a lower price on the ETH than USDN, or else you would just hold the ETH, right? And on the other side, there will be long. And long players will be able to use a very, very powerful, decentralized, perpetual system that will allow you to take a long position, even leveraged long position on Ethereum. What happens in practice is that these ETH that you deposit into the protocol are immediately converted to wrapped staked ETH, whether you get on the short or the long side. But on the long side, it's not really converted but basically what you are doing, it's a perpetual, so you are betting on the price of ETH to go up, right? So you can take a 5x long, decentralized, absolutely secure, low, let's say lower, most of the time lower funding rates, so cheaper position to maintain, long on ETH based on the state of the protocol. And if you compare, like you could be doing the same thing on Binance, for example, but you have a lot of different risks. You can have your stop loss chased by market makers. You can have counterparty liquidations. You can have a lot of different things to happen to your position that are not very cool to happen for you. But on the decentralized perpetual, these will not happen. So you are not only having a better product, but you pay less fees and you have less risks, right? And it's decentralized, so you don't even have the third-party risk that your liquidity becomes unavailable at some point, right? Or worse than that, you get liquidated at a price and there is no counterparty liquidity in the order book, and you basically go negative, right? So all of these are very advantageous. For now, we just spoke about USDN, but when people will realize how powerful just the perpetual product is, it will probably blow a lot of minds. And that's some kind of, that's a part of the beauty of USDN, right? And we can't wait for people to use it. So.
Yeah, and on the long side, you are not long on ETH, you are long on the wrapped stacked ETH. This is one of the big points, because yeah, it's going up.
More than ETH, yeah. Because it includes the yield of the staked ETH into your long, right? So you're actually making more profit than if you were just longing ETH.
At launch, we will for sure invest a little bit of the company money to have a market cap. Yeah, like we don't know how much, but we will start with something. We need some TVL in the beginning, so we will put money from our pockets to have at least, I don't know, 5-10 millions TVL. We don't know yet, but we will launch it ourselves in the beginning, and then after it for the public.
So, as you guys saw, and probably we'll see more of that soon, we are building a SmartX Poker Pro team. This team is something separate from SmartX that will have, I can give you some scoop, but will have its own community, its own YouTube channel, its own Twitter page, and a lot of stuff going on. This team is already gathering some of the strongest players in the world. If you followed the poker scene lately, you've seen them in final tables of the best tournaments on the planet. Some even won the tournaments. And the idea is that we are now talking with a lot of different websites and institutions to include USDN in their systems, right? I won't name names, but if you're smart, you can guess what names are linked to that ecosystem of the poker ecosystem. And there is a huge overlap in poker with crypto. Most of the volume is now made in USDT. And of course, the idea is to gather a part of this volume in USDN. Because today, if you are a poker player and you are sitting on hundreds of thousands or millions in cash in your MetaMask wallet to buy in tournaments, to transfer wealth and things like that, what you do is you're wasting money because you don't have any yield, right? With USDN, you will have a yield included in your token. And that's one of the many advantages that people will have, right? So that's one angle that we will take. We know several companies that entered through the poker angle into different financial markets and have been very successful. And the idea is not to try to compete with USDT and stuff like that in the first phase of the launch, because the stablecoin / synthetic dollar market is very saturated, and it will be very hard to make room there. But if you go instead of where people talk and you go where people do, you will find that the poker industry is almost 100 billion yearly volume, is projected to be way above that in 5 years. And people use stablecoins there every day. So giving them a synthetic dollar to use there will be something very useful for them. And then, of course, we will have all kinds of different partnerships with either that industry or other exchanges and things like that. I won't give too many details now. The AI is your financial advisor, right? So the goal of the AI is not only to act on your side, but to give you all opportunities. So can you explain to you how it works? Basically, you will have an interface, which is a chatbot, right? And then you will have algorithms behind it that will be based on a lot of data that we gathered and different, let's say, things we developed, right? So basically, how will it work? You engage with the chatbot. You say, okay, here is how much money I have. Here is how risky a player I am. Here are my goals. What can I do, right? And then you talk with that chatbot like any financial advisor, right? And that chatbot will tell you, oh, maybe you should wait a little bit before you buy this now, right? Because the market is maybe a little overheated based on X, Y, and Z things I know. I would recommend you to wait, right? If you want to invest. That could be a question you ask it. You could say, I want to build a portfolio around gaming and AI. What do you recommend? And the thing would say, oh, I know this and that projects. They are based on X, Y, and Z. And now I consider your risk and your portfolio, maybe you should allocate this amount to this and X, Y, Z, right? This is one thing you could do. You could also say, now I want to generate yield. I want passive income. I don't care about what I invest on, right? I don't want too much risk. I just want yield, right? The AI also there will look at many different on-chain possibilities and tell you, okay, there is this yielding product here that you can use. There is this, that, and that, and you can expect that yield, that yield, that yield. Here are the risk of this, risk of that, etc. Right? And if you want a very safe bet, you can do X, Y, and Z. This also is something it can do, and all kind of things you can imagine around that, right? And the more advanced thing would be market making. And as you know, Eric and I, we have been in the market making industry for a while now. And for big players, and that will only be for big players, right? So don't expect to be able to do professional market making with a tiny portfolio, but for big players, you will be able to tell the chatbot, yeah, I have that much money, right? And I want to consider market making, and if you are eligible, your risk profile is compatible with the requirements, it will tell you, okay, this is what you can do, right? And now you step in the bigger league, right? Professional league, and that's where you will be in touch with the team, and that will be something separate, and the bot will actually now be a very different thing. It will not be now only a financial advisor, but eventually give you access to professional grade market making solutions on centralized exchanges where you do high frequency trading, a lot of different things, and all you can imagine around that, right? But that also will be only for a tiny part of the users that will be able to do that, because it has a lot of requirements, and of course it's not open to everyone, because the risk is higher, the return is higher, and a lot of things can have to be handled. But also you need a given amount of money to be efficient, right? Because as you may know, professional market making is about high frequency trading, order book filling, a lot of different things to be handled, and yeah, you have to have what it takes, right? Maybe you have to add something. No, okay. So we talk with a lot of exchanges, to be honest, and we don't really care about getting SDEX listed right now. There are some that decided to list us. Lately, we see XT.com that listed us. We didn't even talk with them. They just decided to list us. And we know for a fact that other exchanges will follow at some point. But then we are talking, of course, with higher tier exchanges. And these exchanges will be very different, right? The community they have, the impact they have on the price, and all these things have to be considered, right? Maybe you already know that, but we are firm and strong believers in SDEX. So, we don't always aim for bigger prices immediately, right? If we can sometimes invest at better prices, it's very cool for us. Time is on our side, we know what's coming, so we don't really care, right? So the question, when will SDEX be listed on other exchanges, is not really relevant. It will be done when it will be done, and it will be done at the best time, right? For now, it's not the best time for many different reasons, and you will see many things happen in the future, but you have to be patient. That will happen soon. It's not really a roadmap, I can tell you now. First, we wanted to do a roadmap, right? But as you know, I don't like roadmaps. I talked about it on the Telegram channel. I think promises only engage who believes in them, and I don't like to say this will happen at that time and things like that. As you saw, USDN takes time. The launch got postponed a few times already because it's massive, right? So doing a roadmap, then the only thing you do is either you give a very long date, very far away date, and people blame you because it takes too long, or you give it too early and then people blame you because you postpone, right? So what we did, and the idea I had, is to create what I call the landscape, which will basically be a summary of what's going to happen without giving dates. Some things will be explained, some things will not be explained. You will be able to browse on that landscape. That landscape will be updated regularly, and you will be able to see new things pop in the landscape and do your own opinion about it, right? So some things will be more blurry than others because we won't go into details, and some others will be more, clear for the user.
Okay, there is 2 points. There is 2 points. So the first one is when you want to mint USDN, you need some SDEX in your wallet, and you're gonna burn this SDEX. It's a small portion of this. It's nothing, but you need to have some SDEX to be able to mint some USDN, and sometime you have some arbitrage strategy. You need, for example, you mine some USDN and then you can sell them for a little bit higher, and you have to pay SDEX to do this. You have to burn some SDEX. And the second point, the most efficient point, when you use the USDN protocol, all the USDN protocol on every funding rate payment, we take a small portion on all the funding rates, and this portion will buy back some SDEX and send them to the burn address. So yes, it's very good for SDEX holder actually, because we will get a very high buy pressure on SDEX. And let's say, okay, I don't know, maybe tomorrow we got, 1 billion TVL. The buyback and burn of SDEX will be huge. So yeah, the price of the SDEX will go up, and this is a profit all holders will make.
Yeah, and I would even say that every single update we will do in the future will always have the same mechanism in some sense, which is buy SDEX tokens and burn them, right? So that's really interesting because, of course, burning SDEX in itself doesn't create any buying pressure if these SDEX are not bought first, right? You often see projects saying, oh, so many coins have been burned, right? But these coins were in an address somewhere. It doesn't change anything, right? But if these coins have to be bought on the market first and then are burned, that's all the value that's been added into these buy mechanisms will never be sold, right? It's gone forever, right? So all this value is captured forever by the holders of the SDEX token. And every single update we will do after USDN, and we have many other ideas planned, will have the same, let's say, structure, which basically is create buying pressure on the SDEX token.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. USDN is a delta neutral strategy. So USDN is backed by Ethereum. Okay, if Ethereum goes to zero, okay, now it's $4,000. In 1 second after it's zero, okay, then your USDN has no value anymore, because you can redeem Ethereum only. You cannot redeem US dollars with them. So the difference.
So it's not that it's worth zero; it's that you can redeem something that's worth zero, right? So
yeah.
Basically, the intrinsic value is zero. Yeah.
But okay, UST is not the same. Okay, USDN has it has a collateral value always, backed by a delta neutral strategy and backed by some stacked ETH. So that's it. With a UST, what was the collateral? You had I don't remember, but maybe, 50 billion. I don't remember the numbers, but almost maybe 50 billion UST market cap backed by Luna token with a market cap of 20 million or something, I don't remember. But the cap of the UST was higher than the cap of Terra Luna. So how can you get it stable? So this is not possible. So with USDN, we always have more Ethereum than the value of the USDN. That's it. So this is a difference. This is one of the biggest difference. That's it. And it's completely not the same.
Yeah, you can't compare both.
It's because UST to maintain the peg, they had to. Yeah, the people were able to buy the UST, go to the Terra Luna blockchain, and then they were able to mint Luna token with the UST and sell the Luna on the market. So this mechanism they used to maintain the peg, but at one point it depegs, and then everybody is buying the UST. They send the UST on-chain on the Terra Luna network, and then they redeem the Luna with the UST, and they short the Luna. Of course, everybody was doing it for 48 hours, and then it went to zero. That's easy. So no, the mechanism is completely different. You don't need the peg of the USDN. It's not a peg, okay? Even if we go, I don't know, if we go, let's say 0.2% lower, the price will not peg again because you buy it. It will peg again because of the delta neutral strategy and the funding rate. So the value is completely different. The mechanism is completely different.
Yeah, I would say that you have three kinds of synthetic dollars / stable coins. You have the backed ones, so USDT, for example. We know there were a lot of FUD behind it, and we know also that USDT is not really a crypto, right? You can see every day like accounts being frozen by Tether and things like that, right? They have full control over USDT. So it's not decentralized. It's a crypto in name only, if you want, right? Then and you have DAI, for example. DAI is cool, but when Silverbank goes bankrupt, and we see that 9% of the backing collateral is gone, it depegs 9% immediately, right? And then the state says, we save the bank, and it goes back to 1, right? Not really resilient, not really decentralized either, right? So that's the first step. The first category they are stable coins, but they are more like traditional money. They don't have anything to do with real crypto in the fundamental sense, right? Then you have Ponzi crypto stablecoins like Luna UST, which are backed by nothing but themselves, or like you remember the FTT token for FTX, like all of these kind of crypto tokens that are backed. So what is backing my crypto? Oh, my other crypto. And why my other crypto has value? Because it's used by the first one. Yeah, it makes no sense, right? At some point, the bubble bursts and everything crashes, right? And then you have to sell one to buy the other, and you're dead, right? And we remember Luna dumping thousands and thousands of Bitcoin on the market. The famous steady lads, for those that lived the moment on Twitter. And that was very funny to see. Right? And then there is the third one that is backed by math. Most people say, yeah, but we all know that algorithmical stablecoins are impossible and they end up to depeg to zero. Yeah, I would agree that Ethena, being centralized and relying on centralized liquidity, on centralized exchanges and on order books, is very, 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 very dangerous, right? Because the first black swan you see, USD was zero, Ethena is gone, right? Because I can imagine all kind of gamma squeezes scenarios where they have to hedge in one sense. There is not enough liquidity on centralized exchanges. They have to front run people to try to fake the prices. Then they run after the liquidity. The market doesn't give them the liquidity. There are many things that can go wrong. And that's it, without even thinking about the intrinsic flaws of the protocol, because there are many, right? But our strategy is fully decentralized. It's 1-1, two sides, one blockchain. Ethereum, people that short ETH, so they mint USDNs, people that long ETH, right? And these both sides collaborate, there is funding rate between them, and liquidity is always guaranteed in some sense, because it's not liquidity as you would say it's not fluid moving order book liquidity relying on centralized exchanges that are manipulated by all kind of actors, right? It's one protocol where two sides collaborate. They have different opinions, and this difference of opinions creates the opportunity to mine a stable, some sense, derivative, right? And this structured product happens to be based on the dollar value, right? So it's just that. That's a synthetic dollar. And this is only mathematical. You don't have to do a lot of weird things with centralized power when you need to KYC to mint. And, I don't know if I should say that, but I will. I tried to see how Ethena worked. I went to their Discord server. I said, I want to mint millions of USDE. They said, you need to whitelist. I said, okay, I want to whitelist. They said, okay, you need to do 5 million mint. I said, okay, let's go for 5 million. They say, but you need to KYC to whitelist 5 million. I say, okay, let's go KYC. And then they say, we don't really KYC anymore. And I'm like, okay, so who mints? We cannot tell you, the list
Who
is...
redeems?
That's the second part. We cannot really tell you, it's confidential. Okay, so who is in charge? We cannot tell you, it's confidential. Okay, who decides the price of the mint? We cannot tell you, it's confidential. But don't worry, the whitelisted guys that we know, they have access to this information. Okay, but when we do your own method, which basically means atomic swapping different things at high volumes, so reduced price impact, impossibility to remain delta neutral, you can be front run on SEX, etc. What happens? We cannot tell you, right? All of this is fully opaque. It's controlled by a small minority of people that pretend it's decentralized, but it's absolutely not decentralized. It's way even less decentralized than USDT. And there are many, many financial flaws in the protocol, right? All of this doesn't exist. No KYC, no need to stake your USDN to get yield. On Ethena, you not only have to be whitelisted, you have to KYC, you have to stake, which means you're basically just doing a carry trade. You're not doing anything special, right? Your USDE isn't even liquid. If you want yield, you have to immobilize it, right? Well, I can get USDT and immobilize it in a DeFi protocol and get yield too. What's the advantage of having USDE then, It's not usable, right? So that's very, very different. And I would say that's where the revolution of USDN comes from, right? It's fluid, liquid, intrinsically yielding, fully on-chain, fully decentralized, a lot of different things like that no other protocol can provide today. Something to add?
Yeah, and for the launch, we will have some very, very nice yield in the beginning of the protocol. You will see.
So the offices you see behind us, we are not SmartX, right? SmartX is what we work for because we are investors in SmartX. We believe in the project, but in some sense, anyone can participate to SmartX right now, right? You can create. We have SmartX.io, RA2 Tech, the company that is behind SmartX.io. We own SmartX.io. We provide services there, anyone can create smartdex.com, .org, .net, anything you want, add their own services there, plug into the SmartDex ecosystem, interact with the SmartDex smart contracts, and that's fine. We don't own the idea. The protocol is on-chain, it's decentralized, anyone can add their own services in their front end, right? That's the first thing. Now, being investors in SmartDex ourselves, we want it to succeed and we want to create opportunities for the future for every holder, right? And the idea is, as I said in several interviews, if you've been following, to create one place where you provide all kind of services, right? So today, if you go on Binance or any exchange, you have a lot of different offers of any different kind of products you can play with, and most of the DeFi protocols don't provide the same services, right, or products. If you want to have a comparable thing, you have to master different protocols that don't communicate well together, don't do a lot of stuff well. Some are flawed, some, basically you have to learn 10 different things, how they work, and try to work around that, right? The idea of SmartDex as an ecosystem in the future is to provide most of what you can find in a centralized exchange in one platform. It will gather a lot of different products. Most of them have never been done, and those that are that have already been done, the idea is to make them slightly better, at least that what exists, right? So yeah, it's an ecosystem that will be fueled by the SDEX token. As you know, the SDEX token is going to be bought and burned by all the updates. Of course, today there are two centralizing factors. There are the campaigns, where we distribute the rewards, and the community rewards that we will use to allocate to future updates, right? Now, the last question, and I can include it there, is what are the plans for establishing the DAO, right? And the DAO has many different possible structures, right? Of course, community rewards, campaigns, and everything linked to what we control still today will be allocated and delegated to the DAO, right? So for now, since we are still in the, let's say, initial phase, we still have control over that. But all the rest, we don't have control on, right? So anyone could add different things to the SmartDex protocol, could create different layers and things like that. The idea is, in the future, now we are thinking about who decides what and how, right? Is it, do you have more voting power if you are here for a long time or not? Is only your holdings that allow you to decide or not? What is the power structure? Because a lot of DAOs are decentralized in name only too, right? So you essentially pretend that you have a DAO, but you know that like 70% or 60% of the tokens are handled by 2 or 3 entities that work together and they decide everything, right? So you are an owner of the token and you feel important because you can go vote and pretend like you have any use in the protocol, but you don't, right? You just basically obey to the consensus that is held by 1 or 2 actors that own the majority of the tokens. So we are still in the phase of thinking about how we include that. I've been giving a lecture about that like 2 months ago in the University of Geneva. I spoke about all the different ideas we had for that, and we are still there. Today we still think about it, how we can do that, how to prevent ourselves to have too much influence over the protocol too, because we really want the community to drive the protocol. All of these things are being considered. So I would say the DAO will happen when we resolve that, we found the best approach to it, and when we are certain that everything will be handled perfectly. And only at that moment we will transition to a DAO. Of course, the goal is not to do it in too long time, right? It's going to be somewhere between next year or something like that. I don't know. But of course, it's a very important part of the ecosystem. But for now, we want to make sure everything is perfectly handled so that when we switch to a DAO, and there is not a collapse of the SmartX ecosystem, I think it wouldn't please anyone, right? All good?
On est bon.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.